Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining me here on another episode of Soul Authentic Podcast. I'm joined with my beautiful sister, Alaina Perrin, and I'm so excited for this conversation. And this is going to be a little bit of a different flow than what we've done in the last couple episodes. This is going to be more of an in-depth astrology talk, and we're going to weave in this Capricorn energy that's coming in the next couple months into what it's like to be a leader, what it's like to really show up in the world with your purpose in work, in life. There's so much juice there and wisdom that Capricorn has to share. And really how this episode came to be was because me and Alaina both have Capricorn heavily in our charts. And we were talking about this, like, there's so much that is not said about Capricorns. There's so much on the internet that's really misled. And at least for me, whenever I do research, I don't feel completely satisfied when I listen to materials, podcasts, and things about Capricorn. There's so much depth there that needs to be looked at. And it is a very powerful sign, right? It is that earth sign of, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this happen no matter what. It's often depicted as the mountain goat. That's in more modern astrology, as like mountain goats really get to the top more than any other animal because they have that strong endurance. They have that stability. They have that really grounded nature that gets them like, okay, focusing. Whereas in more traditional astrology, they have been known to be sea goats, right? That's been the mythical representation of Capricorns for a really long time. And I feel like that's more of an accurate depiction in my eyes. I don't know about for you, Alaina, but for me, it's been like, I have two sides of myself. So in my chart, I have Capricorn rising and I have a Capricorn moon. And I'm so like, there's so many sides of me. There's so many parts of me that I'm like, I can go really deep into the earth and like determination and ambition, like strong, solid, unshakable ambition that makes me and drives me. But then there's this other side of me that I feel so deeply connected with whatever's happening around me, and I can easily tap into spirit through that. And yeah, there's just another nature to Capricorn that's not spoken about. I also want to say that there is a lighter side of Capricorn. It's usually depicted as this like more dark energy that's kind of foreboding and you don't want to be around, and they're all about like fears and hesitancy and things like that. And yeah, of course, every single sign has their shadow. Every single sign has things about them that, you know, if you aren't really in balance with or you're not recognizing, then yeah, it's going to play a significant role in your life. But there's also a really beautiful energy of Capricorn. It's this energy of like the strong mother that like takes care. And I also want to note that Capricorn does rule the patriarchy. It rules like masculine structure. Different in a way that like Mars does, because Mars is more action, but Capricorn is more the energy of it. It's the father energy, but it's almost like when the mother takes on the roles of like, okay, you know, the father isn't here right now, so I'm going to take on that masculine structure to hold and be that for like my children and provide, right? Provide in every single sense. And that's where we're kind of talking about being like multidimensional creatures, being able to like really hold in this capacity of like, I'm being the masculine to feminine, right? But then also allowing ourselves to be in the feminine to a masculine energy. And yeah, I mean, I would love to hear your take on Capricorn energy and all of the juiciness that comes with that, Alaina, because I just want to say also, Alaina is an amazing woman. She has spoke to me, and really I've learned so much about womb wisdom and my own feminine energy. And astrology from the sister. She's also so steeped into ecology and regenerative farming and things like that. And I know you're going super deep into all of those things. I'm definitely gonna have you on another episode for sure, just going into all of this stuff. But today we're talking about Capricorn. And so I would love to hear your take.
Yeah, man, that was just such an incredible, I feel like, just introduction to Cap. And oh, I was like just making notes the whole time of little things that were just like alive in me and excited in me. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I always get so lit up by our conversations. They're just enlivening. So it'll be cool to have other people listen in. um, I so like love what you mentioned about how it's like the woman stepping into that, or us through the lens of women, or being like female bodied, kind of taking on that like patriarchal, like providing and provisional role. And you mentioned almost like that mothering energy, and I almost think of it as like the grandmother, like deep rooted wisdom, someone who's at like the head of the family in that way, well respected, aged. There's this richness, I think, to earth signs and Capricorn that is about something like tangible. And you know, like when you're sitting with your own grandparents, specifically too, like our grandmothers, and the wisdom that they hold in their bodies, just that they've, taken in the life that they've felt and lived. Yeah, Capricorn, it's I feel like you can read so much on like before actually studying astrology. It's always like Capricorn is the boss, it works really hard, and you read that. And as you mentioned, we both have strong Capricorn in our charts. And can you still hear me? Crazy, I was just hearing something. Oh,
No,
there we
I
go.
can hear you. Yeah.
um the Man, what was I going off on before? It was,
Yeah, you're really speaking into like the wisdom of our grandmothers and our grandfathers, and like that very deeply rooted. I feel that too in Capricorn. Where like I envision Capricorn as like the big oak tree that has like large roots that's going deep into the earth. And it's like it's there, it's there to give presence and to give strength and to give wisdom. And it's very stable, right? It has
yeah,
been enduring many seasons over time. So
yeah. Endurance is such a key word there. I remember what I was saying before. It was, gosh, just that we get this idea that I think from initially reading things on the internet, it's like Capricorn is just about work, it's just about being the boss, it's just about having authority. And I just remember not really being very excited reading about that. So then Capricorn can feel kind of dull and dry when we actually start exploring, Cap through being like the element of earth, and it having this like rich, sensual, deeply feeling aspect to it, especially like both of us with it as our moon, and like that being how we're physically reflecting our sun and actually inhabiting our bodies and our life. It's intense in that way, because there is that kind of like churning Saturn energy there as well. That's like you are responsible for what you're building here. What is the legacy that you're sowing? And that's why I love seeing Capricorn through the lens of the grandmother, because they're like, you can see on like their skin, like the wrinkles, the marks, the scratches, the scars, bruises, like that's like a life that was lived over time and lessons accumulated over time. And that's such an emphasis for Capricorn too, is what are we sowing over time? It's in it for the long haul. And I think that's just one of a beautiful tribute to Capricorn is patience, and earth signs in general is that patience, that ability to just show up every day and do the little things. And it's not like a sign that's there for instant gratification. In fact, it can feel like a little bit more restrictive for that reason, and moving through that and kind of connecting to that again, what you mentioned about like it being the sea goat, connecting to that intuition, that part that equally is so present in the body and is also able to just like concave into like some serious depth that I remember you mentioned in our last conversation that sometimes, you know, it doesn't always share with the world around it, because there is that restrictive nature to be aware of as well, but it's self-preserving and wise about like boundaries and borders. And I feel like for me recently in my life, I've been tapping so much into like my holy hell yes, and only saying yes to things that are just like alive in me. Yeah, a little like and it feels so good, and it's about saying no to what am I sacrificing in the grand scheme of the long run here, and if I can take this day to be fully present, what am I building, and do I need to see do I need to be gratified today, or can I be gratified knowing that I took this little step forward, or I said yes to this one thing and my whole body said yes, so I moved forward with it, and letting that be enough, and trusting, like not feeling like we need to say yes, yes, yes to all these things, and instead having like boundaries with the quality, because I think that's a huge thing for Cap too, is just the quality of the work we bring. Oh, I'm sure you resonate with this too, just the quality that we bring into what we do. Like it's for real.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever half-assed anything, even if it was like anything I've been lit up about. And I mean, even stuff that, you know, we do when we're learning that we aren't lit up about, I haven't half-assed that as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of impossible.
Oh my, I so resonate with that. Like, yeah, the quality of work, the work ethic is beyond.
Yeah.
And I've actually had many managers ask me like, wait, what? Like, how did you learn how to work so hard and bring so much performance out? And I'm like, it's just in me. It's so ingrained in Capricorn to be that way, to just really strive for mastery in every single thing you do. And so I always tell people, even in relationships, like, I give 120%. Like, that's just my nature, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no other way for me. Like, if I am half-assing something, then I just won't do it. It's like I'm in or I'm not. And so, yeah, that's a beautiful quality about Capricorn. And I also want to speak onto this holy hell yes, because yeah, that's so big for Capricorns, right? Like, needing to know when to be discerning. And inherently, I feel like all earth signs are pretty discerning. Like,
yeah, definitely.
You know, pretty much all of them. Virgos for sure, Taurus and Capricorns, very much discerning, and they have to be, right? Because Earth as an element, it is that boundary, right? It's the boundary that creates, separation between us and another person, or fire and water, right? And so, yeah, it's definitely so important to be in that energy of just the hell yes, of if you are kind of inching around and saying like, I don't know if I want to go to this thing, okay, yeah, it's a no. Yeah,
it's a no.
It's a no. If it's not a fuck yes, it's a no. It's a no. And just living your life from that, because I mean, this can be for anyone. It's not just for Capricorns.
Oh,
it's just living in like your yes and your pleasure, and that's such a big motivator. If anything, that's the most sustainable energy source in you. So harness that. Like, whatever sparks you in that day, lead your life in that. Because if you're going towards things, of course there's things, again, to go back to the Capricorn energy, there's things that you just have to kind of be like, okay, I'm gonna put all my big girl pants on, put on my focus alarm, and I'm gonna do it, right? There's things that we have to work through, right, in order to get where we want to be. And that is the Capricorn energy as well. It's like, I'm gonna do whatever I need to in order to meet this goal, even if I don't like it, right? And so there's a way to balance between that. There's a way of being like, I can be in my pleasure and experience so much joy and also get what I need to get done. Like, for example, I've been doing this a lot with looking at my task list. And again, a big thing of Capricorn is creating lists and crossing it off. Like,
Oh yeah.
I read this
So
one,
satisfying.
right? I read this one post about Capricorns once on social media, and it was saying how to make a Capricorn's day is just like crossing off 3 items on the list. It's for sure. It's like so for real
Yeah.
because it
Oh.
makes me like feel like I accomplished a lot
Yeah.
of things, and that's the ultimate goal of Capricorns. I feel like accomplishment, wanting to achieve and make themselves kind of be known in whatever they're
Oh
doing.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's big.
We're talking about like it's big, it's boss,
Yeah.
it's like it's legendary and that kind of thing. And I've been sitting with this too recently. It's like what am I it is that like more long-term vision of what I'm creating right now is just one piece of the entire fabric of what I'm going to leave behind. And it's like, I want every ounce of it to be quality, you know, like only through the lens of like the holy hell yes. And like, that's going to be the like the route that like I desire to take. And, I'm curious too if you've had this experience where you're really able to like I just like our work ethic, the work ethic of Cap is like next level, and I'm always able to just like continue to just like center myself back in and keep like focusing to continue just to like work, but it is like stopping and pausing and having that just like taking a breath, being in our body and having that awareness of you know, it's like, is am I really excited about what I'm working on right now? Because I feel like it is very easy to can like get like put the blinders on and just be working because it's our default mode, and end up kind of going working too much in like just a direction that doesn't really nourish us in the end. And that's been something like just a really powerful reroute for me at least has been questioning like I'm putting all of this work into something, it might as well be for something that lights me up. And it's like I've seen too in like the wake of my own like just existence and the work that I've done on teams and things like that, being a leader, showing up in that space, that regardless of if I really like in enjoy what I'm doing, it like stuff gets done and people are always impressed with what I bring to the table. So it's about like rerouting that, like what we're so used to hearing about Cap, that's like, oh, they're here to work, they love to work, it's like work, work, work. And like, okay, well, we have to do something we enjoy and prioritizing that. And then we begin to, I feel like, get more excited about doing things long term and not feeling exhausted, or at least I used to feel exhausted by the idea of like, I have to work. And it's changing the perspective and the inner conversation of okay, what am I contributing to, and is this feeling like enriching and nourishing for me? Because oh man, something else too that saying the word nourishment reminded me too that there's something too to like Capricorn ruling the bones and just like the architecture of our bodies, because like those parts of us, like the minerals, they're so nutrient dense. It's like we really pack a punch. And this is just something like that's so felt in our bodies, like, and man, I mean, even having a Capricorn moon, I feel like I feel things like in my bones, like that's where it's embodied. And I'm always thinking, how do I, like, I can't deny myself, I can't say no to myself when you feel stuff like that, like just down to that nourishment, down to that core, down to like, yeah, down to the bone of things. And that's where there's just so much nutrient and like mineral buildup there in the structure of how the structure and the boundary of how we're built and living in a body, that I always get so empowered when I experience Capricorn through that lens, because it's just it's grounding and it's like nutritious.
Oh, I love that so much. Yeah, and you say it so poetically. I love it. And I just also want to speak on just this feeling I'm getting on how we cycle through the elements, right? So if you almost want to say Capricorn is the cardinal energy, it's like the energy of the start. It's the shift. It's kind of like the spring energy of the initiator. Yeah, so it's that. It's like, okay, I'm going to work on this project and it's going to happen. It's going to be grounded. It's going to be stable. I'm going to take step-by-step action towards this thing. And it's going to make huge shifts. And also there's like the Taurus energy, which you go in after, which is the fixed energy of, well, what's my pleasure? Do I really enjoy working in this capacity? And how does it make me feel my body? Does it make me feel worthy? And then you go to the Virgo of mutable discernment, like questioning and does this really feel good in terms of like efficiency, and how does this fit in this structure or box, right? It's really powerful being able to understand how we work in that lens, and how Capricorn really brings a lot to that energy of just like, it is the initiator, it's the starter, and it's also that piece that's like, it's going to weave like little by little. It's going to be that sign that like gives and continues to give and is very stable. And to connect it back to working in our pleasure, it's key, right? Again, it's working in our pleasure and being able to balance out work and what gives us joy is like the sweet spot, you know? And that's where I feel like a lot of healing can come for Capricorns, because, right, we have been indoctrinated with like this work. Yeah, like that's all I thought Capricorn was like, it's just this ambitious sign that like only wants to work all day, provide and make money and just like be on a high status. Like, no. Capricorn has so much more depth than that. And I do want to bring it back to Saturn, actually, because Saturn is the ruling planet here, and it has so much to say about the energy of Capricorn. And so when we talk about the ruling planets, there's specific planets that really are tied to the signs. So with Capricorn, it's Saturn. So when you like to look at Saturn as a planet and what it does embody the same energy of Capricorn. So you kind of can understand them in the lens of each other. And so I love speaking on this because I have a lot of Capricorn in my chart. It's very Capricorn dominant. I do have the ruler of Capricorn as the ruler of my chart.
Ruler.
Yeah, and so there's a very intimate relationship with like karma and time and how I use my time. And that also brings in, again, the lesson of discernment. Like, okay, where do I want to put my time, and how would it be best to like work on things that I really want to bring forth and even push the envelope on my legacy and the people before me. Because that's coming to me too so deeply recently. It's like, okay, all my ancestors before me did all of these things for me to get here exactly where I am. And so how can I then take the gifts and the magic and all of those experiences and bring it into what I'm doing now? And so there is that very deep-rooted wisdom that comes through Capricorn, that comes through Saturn as like, hey, this is your karmic, almost like soul contract to understand. And so, it's that energy of like, this is also who you'll be in like the larger worlds of things. This is how people will see you. And so Saturn has been known as that planet that, for lack of better words, like really teaches you lessons. I was gonna say kicks your ass because I really feel like that's the word for it. Yeah, like it really does that, and it's because when we're not in alignment, for example, when we're not doing what we need to do, when we're not listening to our intuition and acting on it, that's when Saturn comes in and it's like, okay, you're going to learn the lesson. And if you don't learn your lesson this time, you're going to learn it again.
Yeah.
So it's really powerful, the medicine that Capricorn actually gives, because it is really honing you in so you can be a master at whatever Saturn is in. For example, Saturn is in Pisces in mine, so it's needing to really be discerning on my energy. And how that translates to Capricorn. Capricorn then can become the master at like, hey, I can discern what my energy is and what your energy is, and I can still help you, and we can still serve this like greater purpose here. So it's really powerful. Do you want to speak on anything from Saturn?
Yeah. This is just so totally relating to how I've been embodying this. It just your exact words around, gosh, like when I've, relating to Saturn as the ruler of Capricorn, and it really governing the human experience and being in our body. And it speaks so much to just, I think, like satisfaction with like a quote, job well done, as in when we look to elders and ancestors, like that Saturn energy that is, written in the skin of people who have lived a long life and loved a long life, and I mean have just experienced the spectrum of human, that it just speaks to like longevity and just being in this body. What are we sowing? What are we creating here? What did I create that was tangible, that I could touch? And how did I impact humans around me as well? It's, especially with earth signs, it's like that satisfaction of touching what we create and really receiving the luxury of that as well. Yeah, there's just something about I don't want to say slowness, but Capricorn, and Saturn, it's about time. And when you're in a human body, it can feel like time moves by so much more slowly than where we may have came from, or what, our like soul may feel used to. So it is about building that trust with the human experience and being sent those lessons over and over and over again in that house that Saturn lives in, through the lens of that sign that Saturn is in. Just, that was really like, this is like the human contract we entered into. Like, why did we, like, what are we doing in this like tangible, dense body, and what lessons are we here to work with and work through? Like, master to me feels like, how did I like get my body involved in it? What took practice? What took undoing old habits and forming new ones to really to create like a different tangible existence, which is a huge thing for Capricorn too, is being in what it created for itself, which is most of the time it can be quite nice because they work hard. And it's quality of people, quality of environment, quality of experience. But it speaks to being fully there in this body and having that like depth of understanding that it's, that this is almost temporary. This is temporary. It's a temporary situation. And what are we here to create? And, we're playing the long game too. There's a long game involved here that isn't in it for the instant gratification, but for what we're creating along the way, and what we're building, the empire that we're building, the thing that we feel like we want to lead and take charge on, and letting in those little like just moments of feeling and sensation along the way, because Cap does feel, it's an earth sign, it's sensual and it feels deeply. So it is, experiencing the full spectrum of emotions like everyone else under there, even though I feel like it can get the like reputation as being very like unemotional and dry, and it can present that way, especially. But when we connect to that intuitive experience that's aware that like that's of those Saturn human lessons of like what did I actually come here to master, we begin to like let those little moments of like sensation and feeling and satisfaction with knowing we made a quality choice to that holy hell yes in the moment, and that's contributing to a bigger picture.
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much for speaking onto that and reminding me about how, yeah, there has been this really common thread of Capricorn energy not being tied in to their emotions, and it's only focused on work. And so we really expanded on work and what that means for a Capricorn, and that it really is about the long-term gain. It's about that delayed gratification. It's about building things now so that way the future generations will actually have so much abundance, even more abundance than you'll ever have, right? It's that kind
I
of,
love that.
that feeling and that acting of way of life. And I also want to just go into, yeah, this really inaccurate description of Capricorns that they say is an emotional. They say is, really not tapped into their own emotional world, because I have to tell you, being a Capricorn moon, you have a lot of emotions. you know? You have a lot going on, and it may seem like a completely different world to a different person, because it is. Because it is. It's very reserved. It's very inwards. It's very deep, right? Again, it's like that deeply rooted, roots that are way down towards the core. It's in our bones. And so how can we constantly take that essence of like our bone marrow and bring it out? Like, it's very difficult sometimes. And I just want to, speak onto that with any Capricorns listening, with anybody feeling like they really resonate, is like, you're not alone in feeling like, it's hard for you to express your emotions, or it's really common for you to feel reserved, or you feel like other people don't understand you, because it's a very common thing where, like for me, it took me a long time to learn how to fully express my emotions, being a Capricorn moon, I've actually I have experienced this. So like, I never was properly taught how to handle my emotions. Even the people around me didn't have great modeling of like of acting out of their emotions and handling their emotions, right? But with emotions, I also want to say that there's so much intuition there. There's so much wisdom and value that our emotions give us. And so the way I've shifted is like, I see emotions as a really powerful motivator, right? Like, whenever I felt angry or frustrated, I'm like, okay, well, what is my body telling me? What boundary has been crossed? Or what do I need to see in this situation? Rather than keeping it so inside and not being able to deal with it, because that's so many of us, right? There's so many of us who really weren't taught how to properly handle our emotions. I want to say everyone does it differently. A Capricorn is going to do it way differently than, let's just say, a Libra, right?
Or the other end of the spectrum being Cancer.
Yes.
I've learned so much from, like sisters in my life who embody that Cancerian energy, who invite that. So I loved what you were speaking to about the sense of privacy. There's this privacy and reservation, and and it can tend itself to like sacrifice their emotional well-being for the sake of getting the task in front of them done. And what's beautiful about getting invited, as I feel like I have in my life from just other specifically women who are like that nurturing, like watery Cancer, that balance, they invite me into the other end and balance me out, and just like invite me into my own emotional world, and it softens. It can soften that earth and make it so much easier to work with. Because there's so much depth, and it can get like slip through the cracks and get down there, and it can feel like, oh, like that's untouchable. I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that. When it's nice to be immersed in that wateriness, to just soften it up and let it move through, because it is just, I mean, experiencing fear and sadness and joy as well. Like these are all just different things moving through us just for a moment, and then they're gone. And to like see that reflected in, those around me who feel things so openly and let it like move through them, it invites me into the same thing and shows me the value in yeah, like sitting with those feelings, because it can be so easy to displace them for the sake of getting something done. But we cannot deny that, it's like with that earthiness, there's that sensual bodied experience that deserves and needs that attention to, yeah, like sit with that depth and feel it there, because it's like Capricorn is here for business in every single way. And like the powerful part of tapping into that is then you begin to like get surrounded by other people who are full of that richness and who are emotionally intelligent and can like love to speak about it and respect when other people speak about it too. And it being our emotion and what we're feeling at that one certain time, and knowing that it passes through and it doesn't, we're not sacrificing what we're building in the long run to feel. And I think that that's always been something that I continually remind myself, and that I feel like I've been blessed in sisterhood with others, that they remind me too, that like nothing is getting, you're still going to achieve your goal. In fact, live like from an emotive space, and just lean into that and sink into it, honestly, because it is a softening. If said person out there with that Capricorn in their chart feels like they may have a hardened exterior, or, leans more into that I don't want to be understood sort of piece of Capricorn, is just like let yourself be, feel it, feel it through, because there's a deep invitation to know our own depth there, and that's when we can tap into the sea part of the sea goat and like experience that, the human experience. And that's a huge piece of it, that full emotive experience.
Wow. Wow, that's such an amazing way to just weave in all of these parts of, yeah, we are here in this human experience to feel every single vibration. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you speak on, is like, we're here to experience the low and the high.
Yeah.
Right? And so whatever way, shape, or form you want to express that, or however it wants to come through, if it comes through as, you wanting to create or put your hands in the soil, or you wanting to have a conversation, mm-hmm. honor that, right? And then also, yeah, what I love you saying was like bringing the opposite energy, which is Cancer, mm-hmm. to help balance out that kind of not being able to fully understand your emotions, because Cancer is really the mastery of your emotions. Yeah. It's really like, I'm going to harness my emotional world so that way I can understand life and mm-hmm. provide support. Whereas like Capricorns on the other side of, I'm going to harness, the earthly realm, the material realm, mm-hmm. so I can understand life. And so it's about kind of finding the sweet spot between both and being like, okay, I can use both of these energies to live a very fulfilled life. Like, and there's no separation, right? Emotions will inform work, and your work will inform your emotions. It's all like weaved in together. There's no separation between both. So I just want to speak onto that and how powerful that is, because yeah, it's that's the reason why we're here, to experience both sides. Yeah. And I also want to bring it back to, business and leadership, because yeah, as a Capricorn, being in my Capricorn very masculine energy for a long time. Um, Capricorn, what surprises people is it's a feminine energy.
Yeah.
And that surprised me,
Me too.
right? Because it feels like such a masculine, like very
Yeah.
cut and clear and being able to strive. But actually, it's a feminine energy. And like that has become more apparent and more like yes in my body. And I've understood why over time because I have been able to journey along with so many powerful women in this leadership embodiment program that I just finished. Actually, I just got done with this week. And yeah, I have a beautiful mentor, and I was just in a sisterhood of like 50 women who are all like having businesses and making, yeah, like making the money that they want to make and really holding the space and like weaving in these like feminine principles, right? Of like listening to your intuition, listening to your womb space, listening to like the magic that has been implanted there for many, many generations. That's like Capricorn energy, right? That's tapping into
100.
the sea that's like has come before us and bringing it into that goat energy of like I'm going to create and build from that. And it's so powerful to be surrounded by other women who are really leading their businesses in this way because it is a new way. It is a new way of leadership, of living your life. And yeah, I think that's one of the best things for anyone really is to be surrounded by people who are doing the things you want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's essentially just having expanders around you. This is something that me and Alaina really like talking about, which we got from TV Magnetic. And it's just like, it's so powerful being able to use those mirror neurons because they're so deeply ingrained in our bodies. So when we see another woman really in her power and doing that, our Capricorn's just like, oh yeah, let's do this. Like, I want to get to that level
It's the best
too.
feeling invitation.
Yeah, it really is that like magnetic pull towards power. Like you really are pulled towards other people's power, and it really makes you curious. Like, what is that about? What are they doing right? How does that then translate into me? And I want to recognize that as something that's really powerful, even on like a self-growth journey, right? Like leaning into people who really inspire you, asking them what they're doing, and asking if you can help them, because that's a part of Capricorn too. It's these small steps that we take to get to a bigger goal.
Yeah.
And it could be baby steps. It's all these stepping stones before we get there. That's all included in Capricorn energy, for sure.
Yeah, I love what you were saying about the sea and ancestry. That's a huge, I feel like, piece to Capricorn, those roots, that root of the tree grounding down. And you always speak so beautifully on it too. Because I just, like see and feel so much of your life and your action is guided by, owning your body and your body story and the way that, that's translated for the women in your maternal line and all the way back. And I think that's like such a powerful part of Capricorn energy to explore. Because it is that, gosh, that amazing like biological piece that speaks to our like genetic information being passed down through the mitochondria of our mothers. Like it's powerful and it exists in our bodies. Like our cells breathe this. Like the energy, quite literally the energy powerhouses of our bodies are born from our mothers. And it's just it commands respect. And that's another piece of Capricorn too, is they command respect. It's a wintering seasoned sign. So I'm talking like from the womb space, commanding like respect, asking people to let parts of them like fall away. There's a silence and a stillness, and it is like sitting in that stillness of whatever emotion we're feeling or whatever we're taking in that present moment of what we've created, and being like feeling well respected there for the work that we've done, for the things that we felt, for just like the lineage that came before us. And I love what you said earlier too about leaving a richer future for for the for the families and the pieces of ourselves that are going to be living on the land and on this planet, after we're not here anymore. Man, I mean, and I feel like these thoughts and these conversations and so many things we've touched upon are just always living in the cells of a Capricorn being.
Yeah.
Like this depth and this level of like pressure almost to like achieve or to like lay something down in the world. Just, oh my God, if I could tell myself when I first started learning astrology, if I could tell myself something, is it's just like, yeah, like that pressure you feel, that weight you feel, girl, like that's your power. That's like the seat of you, like the depth to which you feel. That pressure is the depth to which you're being invited to feel. Like it's the exact, it's they equate to each other. Yeah, and sitting in that like seat of stillness and being in that like wintering silence. Yeah, being invited into that season of Capricorn and living that in our lives, man. I mean, it's respect, and to see that, I mean, see that reflected in other women, to be, yeah, speaking with you too, and having that, having you as an expander in my life as well, inviting me to explore these parts of myself, feeling seen as well. It's essential to bringing out these parts of ourselves, because yeah, one thing you mentioned earlier too is power. It's power. It's the power of winter. Yeah, of that season.
Oh, I love that so much. And the fact that it is a part of, yes, the season of winter, right? I mean, the Western Hemisphere is going into wintertime.
Yeah.
And so,
yeah, it is through that lens.
yeah, it's the time to go deep in yourself and really understand like where you're really being called, what you're being connected to. I also want to tie in this piece of Capricorn rules tradition. It rules like family history and lineages and things that have been passed down, like material items. So we're really talking about our bodies. Our bodies are the most ancient forms of artifacts that have been passed down from our ancestors. And so I love this piece of you talking about like energy powerhouse, like is coming straight from our mother's DNA, because it's true, right? All of our mitochondria are coming from our mother's DNA, and that in itself commands respect, right? That deep, strong mother energy, like Earth itself, like if we want to just speak all about Earth commands our respect, and she really does get it, right? When she brings in like, thunder or a storm, like everyone's just in their stillness of like, okay, I need to be with this right now, and there's no other way to be present. Like she demands you to just be here now. And it's so powerful, again, to just highlight the cycles that we go in. That's a very feminine aspect in each one of us. Even if you don't have a yoni, even if you don't have a womb, right, you have a lower abdomen with the sacral chakra that is still pulling, right, like moving you on that feminine magnetic pole, right, that's constantly in you. So it's so powerful that we're having this conversation, because that is Capricorn, right? I think the reason why we don't understand Capricorn so much as a society is because it is really about the divine feminine aspect of like, it is that warrior energy of, I'm going to be strong, I'm going to hold, I can hold so much, and I'm also going to really honor the people who came before me and my own body. And so it's all these layers that are now really being pushed into like the feminine narrative, that we all need to honor in ourselves. because that's how real change and impact is made, when each and every single person makes a radical shift in themselves that says, wow, I'm going to actually honor these different cycles that I have. I'm going to honor the stillness that's coming and listen to that and realize that there is some gem in that. Maybe you might learn about your ancestor. Maybe you might learn that there's a part of you that's always been wanting to come through, or a certain memory. Those are all aspects of like Capricorn and Cancer energy playing together, which is really powerful during this time, especially at the end of the year. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you so much, Alaina, for just coming on and talking to me about this. And I almost want to say it was like somewhat selfish, because I feel like we're just talking about ourselves and we're reflecting this bigger energy out into the collective that really needs to be shared, because there are so many people who are Capricorns that I feel like they don't resonate with what's out there. They don't resonate with the things on the internet and what they've heard. And so I just want to give really me and you the stage to talk about Capricorn energy, just put it out there, amplify this energy that's coming into fruition in these next couple of weeks. And I really invite you, anyone listening who really resonates with Capricorn, is to ask yourself, what is like the deepest, most deeply rooted thing that's coming up? Is it a memory? Is it a feeling? And is it this pressure? Again, yes, Capricorn rules that pressure. It rules that like this responsibility that you feel on your shoulders that you don't know how to describe to people. That's been my life for so long. Right? Yeah, like even as a kid, you feel that.
Oh, yeah.
And so what is that? Because I want to highlight, pressure is the power in which you feel, right? And that's something that you said, Alaina, so beautifully, is like that pressure is actually your power. So what are you feeling? What pressure is coming up for you right now? And let's change our relationship with pressure, because it could be a motivator. Yeah.
Could be an emotion. Could just be something fleeting that just needs to be felt and released. And
yes,
then we move on to the next moment and we can feel completely different.
Yeah. Wow. So thank you so much, Alaina, for coming on. I love you and appreciate you, and just our talks about astrology expand me, and I know it will expand so many people. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom. And thank you for everyone that joined us, because, without you, we really wouldn't have anyone to share this with. So if anything resonated, please like, follow, subscribe. Alaina, if you want to share where people can reach you.
Yeah, definitely. You can check out my writing musings life on Instagram at lay.iyla, which is lai.iyla. Thank you so much, Lynn, for having me and for this conversation. Oh my gosh. I mean, just, it's nourishing. It's nourishing. True Capricorn nourishment. So I love you so much.
I love you so much. Yeah. All right. Thank you for everyone who joins. And we'll definitely have Alaina on again to speak about her story and her medicine, and just, continue to weave with me here. So super excited for that. And I hope you had a beautiful day listening. Talk soon. Ciao.